Good morning, Alex from Board Game Cove here, and today we're covering Merchants of the Dark Road. Merchants of the Dark Road is a game that I honestly did not think I'd be doing a dedicated video on. This was a game I thought I'd cover more in my roundup videos, but when it hit yesterday it just looked so captivating and really pulled me in, and I decided to do a full video on it. Why not? Might be a little shorter, we'll see, but I decided to do a full video on. Now, if you're new here, if you're new to these videos specifically, I tend to cover these games a bit of from a financial perspective, from an aspect of, okay, great, these games are expensive, will you see your money back on them? Now, it's not meant to be an aspect of you're buying the games to resell them, although if you want to watch those videos for that, good on you, but rather, I back a lot of games and I trade a lot of games away, and I want to make sure that when I do so, I'm getting my money back. I want to make sure that I'm not losing tons of money on Kickstarter, but rather that I'm just putting the money in and hopefully seeing it back later. And so if that information is helpful for you, great. And if not, well, great anyways. In any case, Merchants of the Dark Road, let's jump into it. Currently at $120,000 out of $35,000 goal. It looks like it's on track to beat Elf Creek's highest pledged game until now, which was Atlantis Rising. Elf Creek has done 4 games so far. They've done, Merchants of the Dark Road now. They did Honey Buzz, towards the earlier in the year or last year. They did Atlantis Rising, and they did End of Trail. End of Trail was a little bit of a smaller one. I only hit 25,000. Atlantis Rising got to 160,000. Honey Buzz got to 135,000. And on day 1, Merchants of the Dark Road hit 120,000. So I'm pretty sure we can safely say this will eclipse the 160,000 from Atlantis Rising. That's all well and good, but what about the game? What's the game like? How does it play? What about all that stuff? So to start with, let's just talk about how incredible it is, about how the production quality for games just continues to up the ante. I feel like every time I'm blown away by how good a game looks, a month or two later, another game comes by that looks even better. Merchants of the Dark Road, to me, looks beyond visually stunning. I mean, this right here is the standard edition components. We'll get to the pledge levels shortly. Actually, you know what? Let's take a break and look at the pledge levels right now. So starting off with the pledge levels, we have the standard pledge level at $49. As usual, I tend to not recommend those pledge levels. I find that a standard pledge level where you're getting the retail game tends to vary from between being a straight up bad buy to just not a very good buy. And this is the latter, so at least they have that going for them. But at $49 plus the $7 shipping for a US backer. For international backers, it's more, and I do have a harder time establishing the value proposition for international backers because that's not the market I'm in, and it's harder to recoup much higher shipping costs, obviously. But in terms of a US backer, at $49 plus $7, you're at $56 for this game, which is not bad, but it's also not good. If you compare it to, let's say, Atlantis Rising, which officially retails for MSRP of $65, but you can often find it for between $50 to $55. So paying $56 now compared to $50 or $55 later is not crazy. And keep in mind that $50-$55 comes with free shipping because when you buy it from any online retailer, you go to boardgameco.com, you get free shipping at $100. So it's not a terrible buy, but it's not a savings of money, and it's a risk because you're basically hoping you'll like the game, because if you don't, you will probably lose money reselling it. Why should anyone buy your used copy for that price when they just can go online and buy it for $55? There's no real incentive there. So you generally will lose money, but more importantly, you're not even getting the upside here. One of the reasons to back these campaigns is the potential upside. If the game does well, people want that copy, and assuming you liked it, well, keep it for yourself. But if you didn't, you can turn around and flip it. So when you buy a standard edition, you're not getting upside, you're just getting downside, you're just hoping you'll like the game, and you're paying a premium to get it now. If you want to, it's worth getting the game 2 months earlier, and you're going to pay an extra $6 to do that, and don't worry about the risk, great, go ahead and back it. You're welcome to do what you want. This is just my lens, the way I look at these things. From there, we have a $25 jump to the $25 jump to the deluxe version of, it comes with the deluxe components, which we'll go over shortly as I scroll down. But it's basically the regular standard edition plus some deluxified components. Offhand, without even knowing what the deluxified components are, and I do know, but before I even knew what they were, this is already a better pledge level. Because now you're already involving yourself in the world of, if this game does get critical reception, if this game is as good as it so far seems to be, well, now you have a whole bunch of people who want it. And again, there's two different aspects here. There's making your own copy deluxified and knowing what you're going to do if you just spent $125 on a game that you don't even like. Those are two different aspects here. So offhand, if this is the deluxe version over here, you will be more likely to see your money back if this game is well liked, because those components will be harder to get. And then from there we have the $125 pledge, which is the all-in, and this comes with Lumi metal cones, deluxe coin pouches, and premium card sleeves. That's a big jump. That's a $50 jump for metal coins, pouches, and card sleeves. And I was pretty disappointed in that jump until I saw the metal coins, and we'll scroll down to that shortly. But going back to these pledge levels, right off the bat, we have 191 backers at the first pledge level, 479 at the medium, and 586 at the highest pledge level. Which does mean that so far, I guess the logic of going all in seems to be appealing to most people. So let's cover those components. The standard pledge level is going to come with the box, as most games should. The rule book, as most games should. I'm going to stop doing this now. The boards, the wagon tiles where you're going to store your goods and your dice, the actual goods that will go in your wagon, the various set of player markers. These are your own player markers you're going to have in the game. A whole bunch of cards, and then look at the art. Absolutely stunning. The building tiles, the resource tokens, the event cards, the coin tokens, and these remember these coins for later when we look at the metal coins. But these are pretty nice looking coins, honestly. It's very unique, very individual, nothing like any game you've seen before. It reminds me slightly of Lords of Waterdeep, not in the actual execution, just in that kind of, some of the coins have a hole in the middle. Something about it reminded me a bit Lords of Waterdeep, but it still looks very different from there. We have the dice, we have Animal Companion cards, Oracle Illumi die, Merchant dice. I'm going to keep going, but you're getting a feel for the various components. The horseshoes, remember those will come up again in the deluxe. Your Trusty Steed cards, your Rondell markers, travel dice, player screens, and solo play cards. Decent amount of all beautiful components for that standard pledge. From there we move to the deluxe edition components. The deluxe edition components come with a bunch of upgraded stuff. So to begin with, we get the deluxe box with spot UV foil treatments. I personally don't care about that stuff. I like it, but it tends not to be a value for me. But then again, some people do, so factor that in. Comes with upgraded wooden wagon meeples with a whole bunch of these. These are better than the originals. It comes with all those deluxe bits are upgraded. Instead of flat lantern tiles, instead of flat quartz tiles, instead of flat the metal horseshoe tiles, all of these are deluxified. And then this is the one I really care about, assuming they let sleeves in there, which I hope they are because they're giving you sleeves, the deluxe insert. Okay, so we have all these for the deluxe edition. That seems to be a pretty good value for an extra $25, both in terms of your own copy as well as if you turn around and resell it. But then we have what comes with your all-in pledge, which are these Lumi coins, these coin pouches, and these card sleeves. Now those coins are gorgeous. I definitely want those coins for myself. I mean, it's $39 for a bunch of coins. It's $50 if you want all of these things. But look at those coins. They're two-toned. They're metal. They're going to clink in your hand with a satisfying degree of gravitas while also looking visually stunning while doing so. When I saw those coins is when I understood why it's an extra $50 to get them, the pouches, and the card sleeves. Card sleeves I tend not to care about. I tend to use my own brands of sleeves. Coin pouches, they look okay. Honestly, they look a little subpar, but maybe in person they look better. But I probably would go for the all-in pledge, given the fact that once you're getting the coins, the rest are only an extra $10. So again, expensive game here. A lot of money to be spent on a game you never really wasn't on your radar a month ago, and suddenly you're like, this is the best thing ever, it's gonna kill it. And this is where the rest of the video comes in, of the value proposition. Actually, let's hold off on that. Let's cover the gameplay at a high-level overview before we get into the value proposition. High-level overview of the gameplay is as follows. So, start off with, you could watch Rado's video, you could watch Man vs. Meeple's video, or even you could watch this little video. Just click play on the video on the screen, and you'll get a decent amount of information about how the game plays. It won't give you everything you need, but it'll give you an overview of what's going on in this game. So, in this game, to begin with, you're going to have these dice on your wagon board. You're going to take a die, move it up, as you can see in the little GIF over here, GIF, and then from there you'll take an action associated with that, as well as moving your wagon around the city to take various actions around the board. You're going to ready your caravan, go to the 5 different districts on the board, and do different things to both up your fame as well as your money. And this is an important concept in the game, because in this game it has a little bit of a Knizia aspect. Honestly, it's a mix of a lot of things. It has rondels, it has dice placement, it has the Knizia endgame scoring, it has a lot of things mixed into one game. So the Knizia endgame scoring aspect I talked about is this fame and money, and whichever your lowest is, that is what's going to be a score at the end of the game. But the fame is public. Actually, I might be wrong. I think, the fame is public. The fame is public and everyone can see it, versus your money is private. And so everyone sees one of the two things in terms of how well you're doing, but they don't see the other, which leads to this own little like a fantastic little meta game of trying to figure out how to make yourself look like you're the losing player even though you might be the winning player. And the reverse is true as well. If you do too well in fame, people might target you thinking that you're a target and try to stop you from winning, and it might be completely off base. It might be that you're not the player who's actually online to win at all. Either way, I appreciated that aspect, but what about the rest? So it has a rondel aspect to the game, it has dice placement. Those are both things I love, and the question is how well they merge. You're going to be visiting these various spots, and you can read this little blurb yourself. Basically, you can get goods in certain spaces, you can get upgraded goods, you can help heroes, you can go to the Ringway Inn to get weapons, armors, go to the dark market to get goods. There's a lot of different things going on in this game in terms of the interplay of different things, and for that I do recommend either reading the rulebook, or watching their overview, or the Man vs. Meeple video, or even Rado. Rado has both a playthrough as well as his final thoughts. And speaking about his final thoughts, he loves the game. I will say Rado tends to be positive, so take it with a grain of salt, but he definitely seemed to be on the higher end of his positive compared to the low end of his positive. So take all of that into account in terms of whether you think you will like the game as well, and also whether your tastes tend to align with Rado's. And from there, 10 minutes in, 11 minutes in, let's finally talk about the value aspect of the game. Is this a good back, and am I backing it myself? So, short answer is I think it is. I think it is, although these ones tend to be a little harder to go through in general, but meaning deluxified games tend to range in what they do and how well they do. And there are multiple factors at play. There's the publisher themselves, how well the other games have done, how well this game is going to do. There's a bunch of factors in play, and they tend to not be as easy of a judgment call as many of the miniature companies that I usually tend to cover, like Come On, Awaken Realms, and whatnot. But in terms of this game, the starting baseline is they have previous games, which is always a good. I'm going to go through my sequence here of the logic I went through to get to this decision, and then that can help you whenever you're looking at a campaign that I'm not covering in this level of detail. But just begin with, they have other games, so it's easy to look at some of them. I ignored End of the Trail because it didn't do that well and it was a first Kickstarter. I ignored Honey Buzz because it hasn't really hit retail yet, it hasn't hit people's hands, so it's hard to tell. But Atlantis Rising is a perfect game to take a look at and see, okay, great, how did Atlantis Rising do? And from there, Atlantis Rising did pretty well. Atlantis Rising was a $69 pledge for the deluxe edition, or $69 for the deluxe edition, and then what can people get for that? So if you take a look, if you scroll through eBay, go to Atlantis Rising on eBay, click on sold listings, and let's get a feel for what the deluxe editions are going for. I'm ignoring these new ones because they seem to be retail at a glance. Heading down over here, we have an Atlantis Rising plus the playmat for $81. Not bad, but not great, because you have to pay extra for that playmat, so that's a different conversation entirely. Over there we have, retail, and over here we have Atlantis Rising board game deluxe Kickstarter, open, unplayed, $210. That's insane. Let me see if we can find any others here. It looks like there's not a lot of others. So we have one decent return and one clearly out of this world return on that $70. And from there we have Atlantis Rising. We can go down to the completed listings on Board Game Geek. So we're going to go here, going to click on price history on Board Game Geek and take a look. And scroll down just to get a feel for these. We have 96, 90, and offhand, just a good metric here, anything that is too close to the retail value, I'll tend to dismiss and assume it's retail value. It might not be. It might be someone who sold their deluxe edition below what it was worth. That's possible. But the high values are much easier to look at. If you see a high value, it's clearly deluxe or not. So are they selling? So this one, 96, 90, and you can dig into them. I believe one of these was actually an auction. It's a little tricky. One of these was an auction with bundled games included. Also includes Thrones and Ataxis. So this might have been retail, might have been deluxe. Hard to know with auctions. I do tend to jump through the 90s. I will say that was the only exception for me. This 90 over here looked great. We had a few down. If you scroll down further, we have 195, we have 150, 195, 195, 169. It looked like, especially in the beginning, especially if you played the game right away and turned around and sold it, people were getting high, like $100+ for a $70 game, and a game that they played in some cases. Some of them are new, but in some cases they played them, which is a great return. And again, if you like the game, keep the game. This is a return meant to be based around the premise that you didn't like the game. But anyways, that is Atlantis Rising. Now, Atlantis Rising, though, is a bit trickier to use as a reference point because Atlantis Rising was a reprint of a successful property, which makes it a bit harder to look at that and judge that alone. So I try to think of the first other deluxeified Kickstarter that's recently come out, and I thought of In the Hall of the Mountain King. In the Hall of the Mountain King was a deluxeified Kickstarter that came out that I wanted to go through the same process on, and so I did. I went through the price history of In the Hall of the Mountain King over here, and the pledge level there for context was $67 US for the deluxe edition, plus shipping, of course. And from there, what are people selling that for? 80, 115, 80, 100, 100, 140. Go to eBay. eBay, we have 125, the first listing. Do you have any others over here? 135, 130. I mean, this is clearly shows you, and I don't always go through that process in these videos. I just wanted to go through it in this case, but it clearly shows you there is an aftermarket for these deluxeified games. Now, if the game is a bust, it's more of a risk, obviously. But my guess is that this is either going to be a good game or a great game. From what we've seen so far, from the reviews we're seeing so far, from the feedback, from the comments from people in the game. I mean, this is the designer of. I actually found this funny because the designer of this game gave a testimonial to Honey Buzz, and the designer of Honey Buzz gave a testimonial to this game, which is good. No reason not to. But yeah, overall, you're looking at a good game or a great game in a deluxeified world of components of games that will hold their value, and you can even sell for a profit in some cases. I will be backing Merchants of the Dark Road. The game to me is visually stunning. The game to me looks like the kind of game I enjoy. It has multiple aspects of games that I enjoy. A small amount of polyomino. It has a rondel, which I love. It has dice placement, which I tend to love. It has that endgame scoring, which looks like a fascinating version of endgame scoring, some revealed, some hidden. And it does that all with a price level that is high, but I don't mind paying a lot for games I like, as long as I can get my money back, and in this case, I think I can. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you found the breakdown and the process helpful as well. There's usually a reason why I say the things I do, why I have the opinion I do, and it's not always going to be right. At the end of the day, it's just an opinion. Buyer beware, backer beware, but if you found this helpful, great. Oh, one last thing I do want to cover. I forgot to cover this, sorry. The deluxe edition does have dual layer wagon boards. Pay attention to the stretch goals. Whichever pledge level you're at, pay attention to them, because some stretch goals will be for all versions. But if you see anything with the little tag of deluxe edition, that's another thing you're getting in the deluxe edition that other people aren't. And the dual layer wagon boards, that's a big deal. People love dual layer, player boards where you hold your stuff. That's another huge aspect in terms of both of the higher two pledge levels. But again, sorry I forgot that, last minute edition. Any case, I'm Alex from Board Game Co. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe down below for more Kickstarter videos like this, as well as other things. I tend to cover a range of topics on this channel. I enjoy them all, anything from just opinions on the industry, comparing games, the random occasional unboxing as I ramble through whatever's happening, and of course the focus, that I would say the bulk of my videos do tend to be focused around Kickstarter, both from an overview standpoint as well as individual deep dives, as well as what happened to games I backed and whether I was right or wrong in my opinion, although those will be slower because it takes time for me to find out in some cases. In any case, again, Alex, and until next time, have a good one.